Gilbert Gottfried, and this is Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Frank Santopadre. Our guest this week is one of the busiest and most admired actors of his generation, with credits too numerous to mention, but here goes. His movies include Reservoir Dogs, Con Air, Fargo, Armageddon, Ghost World, The Big Lebowski, and Monsters, Inc. He's appeared in dozens of television shows, including Homicide, The Simpsons, Saturday Night Live, The Sopranos, and of course, Boardwalk Empire. He's also a director with credits on everything from The Sopranos to 30 Rock to Nurse Jackie. I could go on, but it's only an hour show, and I don't have the energy. Welcome to the show, former stand-up comedian and Brooklyn's own Steve Buscemi. Now, is it how do you pronounce it?
You said it the way I say it.
Yeah.
Buscemi.
That's really all I wanted to know.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
We've been talking to Steve Buscemi.
This has been really fun,
Thank
guys.
You
guys are great.
Come back again.
All right.
Didn't you say people started calling you Buscemi, so you started saying it after a while?
Well, Buscemi is not wrong.
Right.
You know.
But shouldn't it be Buscemi?
Why do you say that?
Because
No.
Italian.
No, I
No?
think it's no.
Really?
In Sicily, it's Buscemi.
Buscemi?
Yeah,
Okay.
Buscemi.
So I'm way the hell off.
You are.
Okay.
Yes.
I always said
I'm offended.
Buscemi.
You always said Buscemi.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't correct people when they say Buscemi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
Okay.
I should.
That's really. That's all I want to talk about. Now, Steve.
Yes.
How do you say that?
Yes. You have to elongate the E a little bit more. That's Steve, if you would.
Now, let's talk about something more important
All right.
than your name. Let's talk about me for a second.
Sure.
You used to work out at the Improv.
I don't know if you'd call it workout. I somehow passed the audition at the Improv. I think it was like 1978. And I used to just sit in the back of the room, and I would watch all of you guys. I would see Jerry Seinfeld and Paul Reiser, Larry David. When I auditioned, Larry David was the MC, and Fred Stoller.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but I used to watch Gilbert I used to watch you every night. You would come on around midnight or so, and talk about clearing a room. Sometimes
I'll bet.
Well, here's the thing that I loved about you. You always you were so far out there, and the audience either got it, and then the whole room was electrified, or people just didn't know what they were seeing, and then you would go deeper into, the really weird stuff, and then people would just politely, sort of get up and make believe they were going to the bathroom, but they would never come back. But then all the other comics would be in the back, and everybody would, we'd just be dying. You were incredible.
Yeah. And you saw me a couple of times when I worked out with
Well, Robin Williams came in one night, and he got up on stage with you, and you guys did like a half an hour. It was amazing. Yeah. Did he come in often? Because that's the only time I saw him.
He used to come in a lot.
Really?
All those clubs, like he and Rodney Dangerfield.
Right. Yeah.
You passed the audition not with Bud Friedman, but with his wife, but with Silver. Is that right?
Silva, yeah, but I don't. You know who passed me? Maybe he didn't even have the authority to pass me. Was this comic Mark Schiff? I think his name was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
Mark
think
Schiff,
he had the authority to
He
pass
told me I was in.
I remember Mark Schiff.
Well, this is good. So you never passed the
It was like
audition.
the one night they left him in charge, and I got in. I remember Keenan used to work. He worked the door.
Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Yeah.
He worked the door.
Yeah, and Chris Albrecht was like
when
manager.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, when Bud was first leaving for L.A.
See, I never met Bud, so
Yeah.
this was So Keenan took over.
Well,
or-
Keenan
No.
just like worked the door.
No.
We-
Keenan worked the door, but
Yeah,
Chris,
Keenan
but Chris
Ivory
Albrecht.
Wings at the
Yeah.
door. It's
Well,
like
yeah.
we had the black guy at the door. Yeah, that's basically.
Well, Albrecht had an act with Bob Zamuda,
Oh,
who was one of
yes.
our guests.
He did?
Albrecht and Zamuda, comedy from A to Z.
Oh, I
But
didn't know.
but
he
Chris
did stand-up.
basically, but Bud basically talked Chris into taking over managing the club, and that was the end of
Okay.
the act.
because he was in charge of like who would go on, right? Like what the order would be. And I used to sit in the back. He never picked me. I don't think he ever saw me, so he just was confused. Like, why is this kid here? You know, I would eat. I remember they would feed you there, and so I used to just get a hamburger like every night, and I'd sit, and then at around 2:00 in the morning, he would kind of peruse the back room to see like who was there, and you know, Carol Siskin, all right, you're up next, or you know, somebody, and he'd always look at me and then look the other way, and then one night, it was only like 1:00 in the morning, and so there was still an audience, and he came and everybody had gone up, and there was nobody left to go up except me. Like he was forced. He looked at me and he went, "All right, you're next." But I could tell he was a little pissed off.
Resentful about it.
And I was so excited. I was going to get up there. Right before I was about to go on, Paul Reiser walks through the door, and Chris said, "Oh, thank God you're here, Paul. You're next." And so I did go on, but Paul went up and he did like 45 minutes and he killed. And after that, I was just like,
Right, of course.
It was late, and then
I'm sure our listeners would be curious to hear some of what you actually did in your act.
they would be curious.
Yeah.
But
You don't have to tell them. We could leave them in suspense.
this is why I gave up doing stand-up because because it was hard to really figure out what was my thing. So I would just kind of pull from everybody. You know, I mean, a lot of it was self-deprecating humor and sort of the style of like Woody Allen or Rodney Dangerfield, but then I did work with props a little bit, and I had a thing where I said I'm trying to work out and I've been pumping iron, and then I would pull out like an actual iron, you know, like
a little Carrot Top.
a little bit, yeah. But it was I don't know. It was it's probably a good thing that I stopped.
I think it worked out.
So it's a comfortable blend of Carrot Top and Woody Allen. Which everyone's been looking for. I remember being at the Improv, and when I was like still trying to get on, and the MC would come out, and it would be like, you know, it would be empty. There'd be like no one else. I'd be sitting there, and he'd be looking around going, "Nobody here. You got a full audience. There's nobody to go on."
Wow.
Was it Zamuda or somebody, or Zweibello told us they would put you up to get people to get out?
Oh, yes.
At the
yes.
end? After
They
the
said-
check spot,
they
people
said
would linger?
They would either put on me or Larry David.
Really?
Me, because the audience had no idea what the hell I was talking about, and they'd leave. Or Larry David, because he'd get into a fight with everybody.
Right.
Did you know Gilbert then? Did you see
I
his-
started, we didn't know each other, but I saw him for the first time at the comic strip in probably in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing the Norman Fell bits and the Ted Bessel jokes. Some that he's still doing.
So I still remember, you know, like you getting up there and you had a cigarette, you know?
Oh, my God!
And you would like take these little drags on the cigarette, like these angry drags, and then you'd say, "I just got back from Africa.
Oh, yes.
I was in Biafra, and these kids, I love them. I said, I want to take you kids home with me. But how can I take you home with me? You look like hell. Starvation is no reason to let your looks go to hell. I skipped lunch today. You don't see me looking like shit." And I was like, "Oh my God, who is this guy?"
Oh, God.
I walked by the Veterans Hospital. I saw a guy in a wheelchair. I said, "I know how you feel. My car wouldn't start this morning."
That's incredible.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what you were doing.
It stuck with you. Unbelievable.
But the first time I saw you there was before I actually passed the auditions, because we used to go there. You know, my friends, when I lived in Long Island, we used to come in and go there. And I remember seeing you, and you used props. I mean, remember you just like
Still do.
picked up, yeah, but
Still
you
does.
picked up the trays. And
Yeah.
you were like you used them as like you were Mickey Mouse, and then you did something else, and I think it was that night. This could have been the same night. But you would have left because it was at the end of the night, and we were the last table there, and I looked behind me, and Andy Kaufman was came in, and he was at the door, and he's looking around, and the waitress said, "Are you going to go up?" He says, "Nah, there's nobody here." And I was like, "Well, we're here." And I went up to him and I asked him to go on. I said, "Would you please go?" I said, "We love you." And he got up there and he performed just for me and my friends. And he did Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and he brought us up on stage and he gave us
Great.
He assigned us, you're the chicken and you be the cow, and we sang it.
That's great. And you had a comedy duo? You were part of a comedy duo
Well,
with an
okay,
actor
so-
named Mark Boone Jr.?
Yes. So
Yeah.
later on, after I stopped doing stand-up, then I did do a little bit of stand-up. I was living in the East Village. Were you not living in the East Village then? I used to
Yes.
see you. I
Yeah.
used to see
Yeah.
you.
I used to live on Avenue A.
Yeah, me too. I lived on Avenue A between 9th and 10th, and there was a comedian named Rockets Red Glare. I don't know if you know him. I mean,
No.
he didn't do the uptown clubs, but he would do these clubs in the East Village, like Club 57 and places like that. And so I started to do some stand-up in his shows, and then I met this actor, Mark Boone Jr., and then we started to write and perform our own work. He plays the character of Bobby Munson on Sons of Anarchy.
Well, he's in a million things. He was
Yeah,
in Batman
yeah.
Begins.
Yeah.
He's one of those, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I felt more comfortable having a partner. I think, part of the reason that I left stand-up, I just felt like it was lonely. It was, it was just you. And I remember at the Improv, it was hard to it was so cliquish, like all of these guys used to after they would go to Steve. Remember Steve Middleton?
Middleman, yeah.
Sure.
Middleman. I think they would go to his apartment and play poker, and I couldn't figure out how to get in the clique. We actually shared a cab ride home once, Gilbert.
Now, every single person right now is saying, okay, I guess Steve paid for this.
You didn't split a cab. You shared a cab.
We shared a
Yeah.
cab, but here's the thing. Remember they used to give you $5 for cab
Oh,
fare?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I went on that night, so you had the $5, but I think you still asked me for $2.50. And this was like the most awkward cab ride home. Because Gilbert, just sat there. Not even so, how's your act going? Or where are you from? Nothing. I just sat there and I would try and ask you questions like, hey, Gilbert, did you see that TV movie about the Beatles? And then you would say something, you'd give me a one-line thing. And that was it. All right.
You made him pay for the cab, even though you got paid and he didn't get paid.
Yes.
Classy.
When you said that thing about Reiser coming in, and Reiser went on ahead of you, it reminded me of that story I was telling for a while, because it was so. One time I was supposed to go on, and Robin Williams walked in, and they said, "Okay, you're on next." Right. And Robin said, "I've got some people in the audience, and I'd like them to see Gilbert first."
That's nice.
He was the sweetest guy. He was I just loved him. Wow. That's cool.
Okay, and how do you say your name again?
All right.
Buscemi?
Yes, but yes.
Okay.
Somebody finally got it right.
That was farther off than I was. So obviously the stand-up did not work out.
Didn't work out, but it hasn't completely left me because sometimes when I'm asked to, like host an evening or something, or
you just did Robert Smigels's show, the Night of Too Many Stars.
Yeah, and so I love comedy. Like when I was growing up, these were the guys like George Carlin and Steve Martin and Rodney Dangerfield and all these. I used to love seeing them, and I don't know that I really wanted to be a stand-up, but when I was trying to break into this business, I knew that the clubs were there, and if you could just pass the audition and write your own material, then you had a built-in audience. And I knew that comedians often made the leap into getting a sitcom or movies. Back then, it was really sitcoms was a thing. That was my dream was to try and
be like Abe Kaplan or Freddie Prinze. Hit it, get a show.
Yeah. Now Freddie Prinze, I remember seeing him on the Johnny Carson show. I think the first time he was on, and I remember Johnny Carson saying that he was 17 years old, and that was part of the problem. For me, doing stand-up back then, I was only 20. What the hell life experience did I have
he started at 15.
To draw from? I can't believe it.
Yeah.
15.
And my material hasn't advanced since then.
What year did you start working out at the Improv then? It was...
Oh, God. Let's see. I guess when I started, it was the end of the 60s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
you're old.
Dara's yelling 1970. Was it 1970? And you just do impressions, right? I mean, you didn't really have an act.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it. I still don't have an act. Yeah. I still have no reason to be in the business. Now, you said that, I was also on the same night, Night of Too Many Stars with you. And you did a bit there that's really true. What do they call you? Because they
the most murderable man.
Yeah, the most murderable man. You've been killed by everybody.
Yeah,
I do get killed a lot. So we have a
list of people who have killed you.
Yeah, this is a short list of people who've killed you on screen. Harvey Keitel, Vince Vaughn, Christopher Lloyd, Danny Trejo, Treat Williams, this is a small list, James Gandolfini, and our personal favorite, Roger Daltrey.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. But you also died in other ways, falling through glass coffee table and having the heart attack in the Lebowski. And
yes, I know Lebowski. That really surprised me that I die of a heart attack.
It was sad.
They just wanted to kill me. No, I remember after I was killed on The Sopranos, I thought, you know what? I think this is it. I'm not gonna take any roles where I'm killed again, because I was just killed by Tony Soprano. That should be my final death. Then about a year later, I was offered the Michael Bay film The Island, and I was killed by an anonymous killer. You don't even know the guy's name. That's where I fall through the glass.
Yeah. There's a montage of you being killed on YouTube.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yes. But going back, Steve.
All right.
And it is Steve?
Steve. Please, just elongate.
I read after you did the stand-up, you did the comedy duo thing, you didn't have an agent. You started going on auditions. You started, getting backstage and the trades and just going on open casting calls?
Yeah, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to get an agent, but I, would just look in backstage and just send my, my picture and my padded resume, just make up shit.
Drives a ship, drives a stick.
Yes, special skills.
Right.
And a guy named Kevin Downs, he was at NYU, and he cast me in his film. Now I don't remember the name of it. I think it was Surf City. I played a kid from Ohio who was living in New York but was trying to get to a beach so I could surf. And the whole movie I walk around with a surfboard. That was really my first experience on film. And I was actually this is when I was on the fire department because I joined the fire department.
Tell us about that.
In 1980. I gave up stand-up to do something less scary.
Right. Right.
And it was while I was on the fire department that I started to do some student films, and then films that were being made in the East Village at that time. This guy, Eric Mitchell, made a feature called The Way It Is. and I was in it, and Boone was in it, and Rockets, and
I think the first time I saw you was in a movie called Parting Glances.
well, that was the first one that was ever released.
Oh, I see.
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
That's the reason that's the first time I saw you.
I had made 2 independent films before that one, but that was the first one that was released, and that was the one that really got me some attention, and I was able to get an agent, and then from there it snowballed. And then, like guys like Jim Jarmusch and Tom DiCillo, who I
You made a lot of films with Tom DiCillo.
worked with,
Yeah.
they would be around then, and they used to see the theater that I did then. So it was really because of, those early films that I got really wasn't because of an agent. It was because of who was coming to the shows at that time, when I was performing.
Now, after September 11th,
Yeah.
I think you went back. You went to help out?
I went, I was with Engine Company 55. They lost 5 guys, and so I went down to the firehouse just to see if if they needed any help, and I was brought into the site, and I ended up working with them for about 5 days. Yeah. And it was, and I hadn't been in touch with them for a while before that, so I always say this. I hate the reason that I was reconnected with my old company, but I'm so happy that I did because I realized how much I missed it, and now I, am connected with them, and I go to the parties and the fundraisers,
And you made a documentary. You made an HBO documentary.
I did. With Liz Garbus was the director, and it's called "A Good Job: Stories of the FDNY."
And didn't this originate with your dad telling you to take the civil service test
My dad,
back?
Yeah, my dad was on the sanitation department, and whatever civil service test came up when me and my brothers were 18, we had to take. And for me, it was the fire department.
Just to have something to fall back on in case?
Oh, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. He was like, this acting thing, fine, but you need a real job. Yeah. So that's what I did.
And so then Parting Glances, I'm just funny because I'm doing research online and I read that Reservoir Dogs was referred to as your breakout role, but I'm looking, you did 24 films before Reservoir
and
Dogs.
Parting Glances was done by a guy named Bill Sherwood. It was his only film.
Yeah.
He died of AIDS.
Yeah.
But after that I did Mystery Train, the Jim Jarmusch film, and like a few things, but Reservoir Dogs was the one where that great opening credit sequence where Quentin put our names like right on the screen, like in front of our face. So that was huge, and
a game changer.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Mr.
Reservoir Dogs is where you have that great scene of why you don't tip.
Yes.
Which has followed you around, hasn't it?
It has. Now I have to overtip. I'm still shortchanging them because, that was, that really was an incredible role, and just to be in the same room with all those guys, and to be with Harvey Keitel, who was, he was an idol. I just saw him last week. I was doing Adam Sandler's new film, a Western, The Ridiculous Six, and Harvey is in that, and just love him. And he's really the reason that I got into the film, because they were only doing auditions on the West Coast. They couldn't afford to come to New York, and Harvey paid for Quentin and Lawrence Bender to come to New York. And he got in all these New York actors. And I didn't know him. But because they came to New York, I was able to get in on those auditions, and somehow I made it into the film.
An actor that Gilbert and I like in that movie is Lawrence Tierney, who had a fascinating career as a tough guy on screen and off.
Yeah.
What was he like?
Unfortunately, he was a little bit loopy. He was, he got very distracted. Like when we were doing the scene where he's handing out the colors and he's telling us, like what we're going to do. He had a hard time memorizing his lines, and he could only do it like line by line. And you had to sit there off camera straight as a board, because if you scratched your nose, you go, "What are you doing? I'm trying to, he's, oh, God." I was like, "I'm sorry, my nose, And everybody got upset with him. One by one, the actors got up and started to leave.
Really?
But yeah. And but I stuck it out. It was like me, Quentin, Chris Penn, and Eddie Bunker were the only ones left the end, but we had to sit like perfectly still. But he really pissed off everybody. And after the third day, Quentin fired him.
Interesting.
He was so mad, he fired him.
Didn't know that.
And Harvey said, "You can't fire him. We just shot for 3 days."
Right.
All right, But he was.
He's good in the film.
He was a handful. He's
the
wonderful.
fact that you
in the
get
film.
that performance
He's
out of him,
amazing in the film. Yeah.
in spite of that.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I remember? This goes back to the September 11th.
Okay. Yes.
After September 11th, for some reason, I don't know, I would stop by firehouses and say hi to the firemen. And I remember at one firehouse I visited, the fireman said, people have been sending us like stuff like socks. I don't know, we don't need any socks, but they keep sending us socks. And I said, oh, I could use some socks.
Why did I know where that was going?
So I left with a big bag of socks because of September 11th.
Yes. Well, that's another positive from September 11th. Do you still have the socks?
He's wearing them.
He's wearing them now.
No, I sold them.
It's Steve. Just
Okay.
So for a New York actor who has
So
to
you're
be
Italian?
yeah. Only on my father's side.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's on your mother's
My
side?
mom is. She's got Irish, English, I think some Dutch. It's a real mix.
We've had a lot of guineas on this show.
we had Danny Aiello.
Yeah.
Yes. Who else?
Frankie Avalon.
Frankie Avalon.
Bobby
Rydell.
Rydell.
Wow.
That's 3. I wouldn't say that's a lot.
Okay, for me,
Well,
And your co-host.
but I was surprised that Mickey Dolenz. He said his dad was off the boat. He said
That is correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And his mom was an actress. His mom was in
Yeah.
B movies.
Yeah.
You've actually listened to a previous episode of the Gilbert Gottfried podcast. I'm impressed, Steve. That's a first. So how did Reservoir Dogs change everything? I mean, you didn't have to audition as quite as much. You kind of went from being working stiff actor to star.
It just no. I mean,
But-
it just got me in the door to. I still had to audition, but it's so much easier when people can connect your face and the name, or if they've seen you in something. Because I'm terrible at auditioning. I'm awful. But after that, even if I gave a bad audition, they would at least go, "Well, he was good in that movie." So maybe
Right.
Yeah, auditioning is so hard. It's.
Are you any better at it now than when you started?
No, and thankfully I haven't had to do it in years, but I never knew if I should prepare. Sometimes I would prepare and get in there and do okay, but other times I would be awful. Like I remember I auditioned for it was the Barry Levinson film, the one where about the guys who do aluminum siding.
Tin Man. Yeah.
Right? So I prepared this thing and I went in and I did it, and he went, "That was good. Good. Now let's try it like this." And he gave me like a little bit of direction. I went, "All right." And I did it the exact same way that I did. And he looked at me and I looked at him. And I went, that wasn't any different, right? He goes, "No, that's okay." And it was,
Were you reading for Dreyfuss's part or Danny DeVito's part? Do you remember?
no. I think, you know who actually got the part that I did, I think, was Seymour Cassell.
Oh, your friend.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I later became friends with him.
Yeah.
Did a lot of films with, yeah.
You would have been good in Tin Men.
Thanks.
And one of your most memorable deaths was, of course, in Fargo.
Yes. Getting the axe first.
Yeah.
And then the wood chipper. Here's the thing. People say to me, "I love that scene. You were so great in that wood chipper scene." I'm like, really?
So the one scene you weren't in.
I know.
That's what they like you best.
I love
in.
that. You know.
You are both goofy and terrifying in that movie, which is no small feat.
But that's the Coen brothers.
Yes.
I mean, that's in the writing.
Yeah. You managed to be a kind of a cuddly, fun, warm character.
Yeah.
And just scary as all hell.
And described twice in the movie as, oh, he's kind of funny looking.
Yeah. Yeah. I've told this story before, but when I read that in the script and I saw, oh, my character is funny looking, I went, and so I got Joel and Ethan on the phone and I said, hey, I was thinking maybe I could like, like do something with my nose or, like I could do something to, and there was like silence on the phone. And I went, or I can do nothing. I could just, and I went, oh, I guess I'm funny looking. All right.
Our mutual friend Drew Friedman, who's a prominent illustrator and cartoonist, he's done the show. He is obsessed with when you say, who the fuck are you, when Harv Presnell shows up.
Oh, yeah?
So it's become a catchphrase around us. How did the Coens come into your life in the first place? I mean, because Miller's Crossing was your first.
Well, so I auditioned for Miller's Crossing like in 1988, 89, I think that they filmed.
You played Mink. It's one of my favorite movies.
And I came in and I read, and there was like 5 pages of, just Mink talking. And so I just practiced. So that one I did practice, and I just talked really fast. And then they auditioned a lot of other actors. They brought me in about a month later. I did it again, and Ethan said, well, you still say it the fastest.
And that was it.
And they gave me the role.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're famous for not wanting their dialogue to be changed, for wanting it to be, you do everything that's pretty much in the script.
But you don't want to. I mean,
Right.
it's such
It's poetry.
great dialogue that
That film in particular,
wanna
that they
change.
created a language.
They created a whole world.
Yeah.
And the language.
Give me the
especially.
hi-hat and the rump.
Yeah.
What's the rumpus and
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Just fascinating.
Yeah.
So how do you say your name again?
Just call me sir.
Okay. Have you changed it since the beginning of the show?
This is getting like the cab ride now.
It's just like the cab ride.
So basically, we're both sitting, staring in front, and you're going, "Hey, how about those Beatles?" And I go, "Yeah, they were good." Yeah.
Do you know that I once chased down the guy who played Paul in Beatlemania? I saw him.
Really?
I saw him in
He
Times
must have
Square.
been scared.
He was with his girlfriend, and now I had seen Beatlemania and Grease. Those were the only like Broadway shows that I saw in the 70s, and then I don't know how this happened, but I was invited to go see the cast from Beatlemania. Like those guys were playing at a college in New Jersey. Fairleigh Dickinson?
That sounds right.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had a few drinks in me. I'm with my friends. We're walking through Times Square, and I see the guy who plays Paul McCartney. He walks by me, and he's with his girlfriend. And I ran up to him, and I went, "Oh, my God! You were great! Hey, I saw you guys at Angie Dickinson's." And he and his girlfriend just bust out laughing in my face. Like they just
were close.
Yeah. And yeah.
Speaking of that, did people yell movie lines at you?
Like, "Shut the fuck up,
in the
Donnie"?
street? Yeah.
I'm surprised that doesn't happen as often as I thought it would.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, every once in a while.
And mostly Coen Brothers stuff? Mostly Lebowski stuff? And
Yeah. I would say that's true.
what do they do to you when they walk up to you in the street, Gilbert? Your fans? Is it Affleck? Is it just...
Yeah. They'll go. I have something in this hand, and if you give me, that whole scene I do in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah.
So after Fargo,
Yes.
you're not auditioning for the Coens anymore.
No,
Now
I love
you
it that
become-
Gilbert only has a casual knowledge of my career.
It's kind of like.
Go ahead, Frank. I'm really enjoying talking with you.
It's kind of like I'm sitting here the whole time going, I think I've seen him in something.
I know him from.
Either he lives in my building or he's an actor. I don't know. I think he looks familiar. Okay, Frank.
Did you see me in a Snickers commercial, perhaps?
Oh, yeah, I want to ask you about the Snickers commercial.
Please do, Frank. Please.
Frank just handed me a card of stuff to ask you.
I think he just handed you my Wikipedia page.
I don't use Wikipedia.
No, okay,
it's too unreliable.
All right, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We ask this of every guest. So while he's putting his glasses on,
Thank God. Can I ask then?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do we ask every
we ask what they watched as a kid, what movies you fell in love with as a kid, what TV shows. Because you're a New York kid like us, you probably watched some of the same.
Oh, absolutely.
Please say the Danny Thomas show. So
I love the Danny Thomas show. I was in love with. No, I was in love with.
No.
What did you watch? I know you watched the Carson show.
And Danny Kaye and Laurence Olivier used to finger each other's assholes. I heard.
Well, you've just ruined Hans Christian Andersen.
I should say.
So, Frank.
Not to mention White Christmas.
Yes. I used to watch The Honeymooners. Was probably my earliest memory of watching TV. But I lived in Brooklyn at the time, in East New York. And my dad was on the sanitation, so I'd see this guy in a uniform, not unlike what my dad wore. And lots of arguing and yelling, and I thought it was a documentary. This is just about Brooklyn life. I remember seeing the first episode of Gilligan's Island, and
in the black and white version.
Yeah, and being upset, that they were. I didn't know it was a comedy.
Not wondering why Thurston Howell took all his money on a 3-hour tour.
Gilligan's Island, Patty Duke.
Sure.
That Girl. What else?
Created by our friend Bill Persky, who was one of our guests.
Yeah. I used to watch a lot of TV. And, of course, Three Stooges and Little Rascals. And
did you watch Officer Joe Bolton and Captain Jack McCarthy and all the stuff that we used to watch?
And I loved when he would actually bring them on. When you would have Mo Howard and Larry Fine.
Yeah, sure.
I remember one episode as a kid sitting there, and it opens up, and Mo is standing under his picture.
Oh, wow.
And I was so excited.
Officer Joe brought Mo on?
Yeah.
We had Chuck McCann on the show,
too. I love him, too. I used to watch him all
New
the
York
time.
Icon.
Yeah. We used to watch TV, it seems like that's all I did as a kid. Was watch
me
TV,
too.
I guess we would be outside and play and stuff, but we would, spend hours in front of the TV.
I remember not only TV shows, but they had so many old movies on.
Yes. Movies that shouldn't have been on in, the afternoon. I remember seeing, Crime in the Streets,
yes, yeah.
on TV and in the afternoon.
Like the 4:30 movie?
Yeah. Rebel Without a Cause. I remember seeing, the afternoon movie. The $1 Million Movie, I think it was called.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of movies.
Well, you were a Carson fan, too. Weren't you a Tonight Show person?
Johnny Carson, loved watching that. Yeah. It seems but everybody watched those shows, right? And now when I think of it, they were how did we do it? We had school the next day.
With four channels.
You know what was a strange thing that I realized back then is everybody the next day had something in common.
Yeah.
Because we all watch. It wasn't a billion stations. There were like 3.
I know.
That's true.
Yeah.
Everybody had something to talk about.
Everybody saw the same thing.
Yeah, you could stop anyone in the street and go, hey, did you see Get Smart last night or whatever?
Get Smart. I love that show.
Yeah, we had Barbara Feldon we had on.
Wow. 99. I mentioned Angela Cartwright, right? When she was
Space.
Oh, we just had on Billy Mummy.
We had Billy Mummy last week.
Loved him. Billy Mummy was in my favorite. No, it's Moomy, right?
Moomy.
He was in my...
Moomy.
Yeah. He was in my...
And how do you see?
And Buscemi. Just remember Moo and Boo.
He was in my favorite Twilight Zone when the phone. Remember, his grandmother dies.
Yes.
And she gives him this phone.
We talked to him
he
about
could
it.
talk. Oh my God.
The toy phone.
The toy phone. Yeah.
I like the one, his other Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
where he was with Jack Klugman.
Uh-huh.
And Jack Klugman plays a guy whose son dies in Vietnam, but he wants one more day with him.
Oh my God! I don't know this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it's a great one.
What's the name of that one? Something for Praise of Pip. Yeah, it's great. It's touching. He made three. He made that one and the one you're talking about, Long Distance Call.
Yeah.
Is the name of the one where he calls.
The third one is the one where he controls.
It's a Good Life.
Yes.
Where he wishes people into the cornfield. Where he's the kid. He's the little demon
They
kid.
tried to remake it in the movie.
You just reminded me of an Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode where a kid, like a little demon kid, if he had your picture and he like scraped your picture, a mark would
that sounds familiar.
Could appear on your face. It was the scariest thing I had ever seen.
It sounds familiar.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I loved.
Sure.
That was a great show. It was big news when Ilya Kuryakin, was that his name?
Yeah, David McCallum's character.
He got married in Valley Stream, which is where I
Really?
grew up. Yeah. He married a local girl. That was like huge.
That is big news.
Huge.
Let's talk about the Hudsucker Proxy a little bit.
Okay.
And Donnie.
Donnie, yeah. Hudsucker was fun. I only had, I had that one scene. I was the beatnik bartender. Yeah. That was the only line I ever tried to change because they had me say, we don't serve alcohol. Alcohol. I said, Ethan, I don't know. Do people really say that? I said, can I say just alcohol? And he was, no, just say alcohol.
Oh, I misspoke. I didn't mean Donnie. I meant, Donnie's your character in The Big Lebowski. But in the Hudsucker Proxy, you have that great scene where you say, martinis are for squares, man.
Oh, that's right.
Which I loved.
See, I forget this stuff.
I'm the Coen Brothers.
Martinis are for squares,
I'm a Coen
man.
Brothers
Yeah.
freak.
Yeah.
But since I mentioned Donnie, just talk a little bit about the Lebowski. I want to know what kind of set they run. I mean, is it a loose set? Because you look at a movie like that and you say these guys have to be having fun.
They are, but they're, what's funny about them is that they're kind of nothing like the characters that are in their films. They are like the calmest guys. They're so, just laid back and down to earth, but they storyboard everything. I don't know if they still do, but so everything is sort of mapped out, and yet within that context, you still feel like, like the actors are allowed to contribute. But I think in their films, the casting is everything. I think, and I just love them. They just it just goes by really. It's just easy. It's a lot of beeping here. Is that me?
I think it's a video camera. We'll cut that out.
Okay.
I have a pacemaker.
I'm leaving. Oh.
Yeah. So don't microwave anything while we're sitting
This
here.
happens to me though sometimes. So Living in Oblivion is a film I did where I play a director and who's making a low budget movie, and at the end of it there's that beeping sound and he goes crazy with this beeping sound. And this has followed me around ever since. We talked about Tom DiCillo.
Yeah, I like that film.
He was the writer director on that. But that has followed me around. Usually on any set that I'm on, or like today, I
There's
hear like
beeping?
a beeping sound
Very strange.
will drive me crazy.
What do you know about this thing I found on the internet, this webtoon called Las Crónicas de Steve Buscemi? Are you familiar with this?
No, I don't know.
You'll have to look.
There is a group this guy in Belgium has a group called Buscemi.
Well,
Is
this
that it?
is
No.
a series of webtoons that are in Spanish.
Yeah.
With a caricature of you.
Oh yeah, my wife showed me that.
Yeah. Very, very
Yeah.
strange.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of
There's
weird.
a lot of strange things on. Yeah.
There's a
on
lot
the
of weird Buscemi related stuff on the
There
web.
are, yeah. I don't know what to say about that.
Now, I have a list of names to ask you about.
Oh yeah.
Okay, of just people recollection
Okay.
of anyone.
All right.
Well, Danny Thomas.
Who else you got?
Kate, Laurence Olivier.
You didn't work with Danny Kaye?
Never worked with Danny Kaye. No.
Shocked, surprised.
Or else you'd have to sit on an inner tube to turn this into.
Now, if only you'd had this conversation in the cab.
Yeah, that would have been a good cab ride.
Yeah, would have been less awkward.
Okay. So you worked.
Yes.
Has he been drinking?
I wish. You worked with Christopher Walken.
I did.
King of New York?
King of New York. Oh, I did. You're right. I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's why I don't.
The man has made 100 movies, Gilbert. Cut him some slack.
See, even you don't know your career.
But this is why
That makes two of us.
This is why I feel like I really wasn't in that movie. So I get a call from Abel Ferrara, and he says, he's doing this movie, King of New York. He wants me to be in it, but it's starting next week. I thought, And what happened was he realized either somebody dropped out or something, but he wanted me to be in this gang. I think he wanted like one other white guy in this all-black gang. But he didn't tell anybody, So I show up for the wardrobe fitting, and they were so surprised to see me because the wardrobe that they gave me was like, well, we thought you were going to be a black guy, so and we don't have time to do any shopping. So here, just like wear this. And then I think once I got on set, Abel, he was like, I think I made a mistake with this Buscemi guy. I don't want and we would come into a room and he'd tell me, all right, now you stand here and good, Larry, Larry Fishburne and all that, and Giancarlo Esposito. Buscemi, you all don't gotta come forward. Some of you can hang in the back. And he would point to me, and and he'd keep pointing way in the back until I was out the door practically. He's like, don't worry, the camera sees everything, and I'm like, but I can't see the camera. I know I'm not. And that's why I felt like so I didn't really have any scenes with Chris. I was in a couple of scenes with him, but he was great. He really loves to put in a little dance move in any movie he does.
Yeah, well, I think he started out wanting to be a song and dance man.
I think he was.
He was a hoofer.
Yeah. In whatchamacallit? Oh, Pennies from Heaven.
Yeah,
great
he
scene.
does
Yeah,
a
he's a
great
great dancer.
dancing.
Great.
Yeah.
But I do remember that in King of New York. There's always he's doing a little twirl at various points.
Yeah.
William Hickey.
See, now, we were in a movie, Tales from the Dark Side, but I was not in his segment. Had you watched the movie?
It's a long list, Steve.
So you've been in movies.
I've been in movies.
Yeah, okay. Albert Finney.
Albert Finney.
You ever even watch a movie with Albert Finney in it?
Big Fish.
Yeah.
You see, I'm terrible, but I forgot to tell you that I'm a terrible guest. I don't have good stories about people.
No, you've proven it.
Am I really?
It's just
It's okay. He's a terrible host. It works out.
This is a terrible interview.
All I
so
say
you
about
see, it all
people
works together.
You can name anybody. And all I'll say is, yeah, he was fun. That was good.
We're not
I
even
enjoyed-
recording right now, so.
Can I have a do-over?
That's what Danny Kaye and Laurence Olivier used to do.
Okay.
They would have a do-over backstage.
There have to be
when they
names.
were working together.
There have to be names on that list of people that were in scenes with him.
Okay.
Damn it.
Keith Carradine. Or have you ever seen a movie with John Carradine? And we'll take that.
You really are picking
Have you ever
films.
seen John Carradine as Dracula? And we'll go with that for an answer. You can just go, yeah, his father played Dracula in House of Frankenstein. He was good.
How about Joey Pants, Joe Pantoliano?
Okay, so the first time I worked with Joe Pantoliano was in a film. I'm not going to remember. Oh, it was called Zandali. It was in New Orleans, and he played a transvestite. He was in drag the whole film. You're nodding your head, but I know you haven't seen this film.
I've seen it years ago.
Really?
Yeah. I saw Trees Lounge.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of stuff.
I can promise you I haven't seen the film or anything else you've been in.
I think I saw Zandali on VHS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been about right. Yeah. and that's really all you can say.
We'll get away from that list.
You've never... Ned Beatty?
Ned Beatty. We did a movie called Ed and His Dead Mother.
Yes.
Ed and His Dead Mother.
That one I have definitely seen.
Yes. And sometimes he would give me a ride to work in the morning. Nice guy. Nice guy.
That's a pretty fascinating...
Isn't that a fascinating story?
Was it a better ride than the one with Gilbert? Was it more
Yes. He would talk to me. He would say, "Good morning, Steve. How are you? How are you today? How's your family? Where are you from, Steve?" He had a general interest in me.
So Ned Beatty's cares more about other people than I do.
Yes.
Or basically about you. Then I know nothing about your career, and I don't care.
I know you have not seen anything past 1975. That's when you.
That's true, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sorry I was not in the Brady Bunch. I wanted to be.
I never got into the Brady Bunch.
No?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe because you're old. You're older. You're older. I was the right age, I think. I wanted to be in that family.
So you were thrilled when they called to ask you to play Jan Brady.
I did.
Yeah.
I did a Snickers commercial.
Very
where,
funny.
Danny Trejo plays Marcia Brady, and then at the end, I'm Jan Brady.
Super Bowl
Gilbert's
spot.
just nodding very politely.
He wasn't
now.
watching the Super Bowl either.
Yeah.
It was very funny, Gil. Take my word for it.
Sure, it was good.
What would you like to talk about? Steve, we got some cards left. What do we...
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Ghost World or all the directors you've worked with?
Would you like to do anything from here?
I would. You know what I'm really good at is shadow. Shadow puppets. So
Okay.
all right, if you could just imagine.
Oh, my God,
this
that
is-
looks like Lincoln.
No, it's Nixon. It's Nixon. You see how the thumb?
Oh, that's right.
That's Nixon's nose.
On the Ed Sullivan show,
Yeah.
they used to have those shadow guys on.
I know. I used to see them.
And I always thought it was cheating. Sometimes they would hold something in their hand.
Really?
That was like some curved piece of paper or something.
That's how they did it, right?
Yeah, well, that was cheating.
Yeah.
But the others could do it with their hands,
Right.
as did Danny Kaye, and Lawrence Olivier.
He always goes back there.
used to
Did you
do-
play with puppets as a kid? Do I have this right? Or is there
Well,
this
I had
bad
a-
internet research?
No, I had a Jerry Mahoney doll.
Oh, Knucklehead Smith and Jerry Mahoney.
Yeah.
Paul Winchell.
So I was.
I used to watch that show a lot.
Yeah. I wanted to be a ventriloquist when I was in the sixth
Winchell
grade.
Mahoney.
Yeah.
Hooray. Hurrah. It's Winchell Mahoney time. It's Winchell Mahoney time. Let's have some fun. Hooray. Hurrah. We're glad everybody's here. Come on. Let us give a cheer for everyone. Get ready in your places. Put on your happy faces. Da, 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 da. Hooray. Hurrah. Shish boom ba. Scotty waddy doo doo. Scotty waddy doo doo. Scotty waddy doo doo da.
I remember that part.
It's amazing.
And wasn't Knucklehead Smith?
Knucklehead Smith.
The other
was-
sidekick. And Paul Winchell went on to, do you know this?
He invented the artificial heart.
How about
What?
that?
Paul Winchell.
How about that?
He I don't know, he got screwed on the thing, but he
Really?
invented the first artificial heart. Paul Winchell.
Or some version of the artificial
was
heart,
he
some prototype.
trying to get one of his dummies to come alive? Why would he do that?
So you had a Jerry Mahoney puppet.
Yes. Yeah. With the string in the back.
Yeah, I think
and-
our friend
yeah.
Tom Leopold has a Jerry Mahoney puppet.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Now here's an obscure one. I remember Paul Winchell had a woman doll puppet that was like some Jewish woman.
Really?
And he used to talk in like an accent.
Like a Sylvia Miles puppet?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I remember he would come down on a slide to open the show.
Oh, yes,
the Scotty Waddy Doo-Doos.
I heard he's got it patented. He used to draw a face on his chin
Yeah.
and be upside down. And then
That was his-
Then like the nose and the rest of the face
Yeah.
were covered.
You will never do another show
I
like
know,
this
I'm
one, Steve. I'll tell you right now. Paul Winchell, Danny Kaye, and the rest of your
You know what
career.
I
I'm learning
realized-
things this morning. I'm learning things.
You know what I realized?
This is good.
I know a hell of a lot more about Paul Winchell and Steve
You
Buscemi.
can't get Paul Winchell. Paul Winchell's going to be a long-distance call, buddy.
I ran out of questions after asking him how to pronounce his name. But Paul Winchell,
You could go on for 2
I
hours.
could spend another 5 days on.
Oh, God.
Okay. Well,
I'd like to ask you about directing.
Oh, okay.
My wife is a big 30 Rock fan. We watched you on 30 Rock and watched the episodes that you directed.
Thank you.
And this is a dumb question, but of all the directors that you watched work over the years, the Coens, Robert Benton, John Carpenter, Tarantino, Tim Burton, do you pick up a little bit from each of them? Do you watch them? Do you just have your own thing?
All the directors, like the really good ones that I've worked with, I think what they're really good at is making everybody feel like they're collaborating.
Unlike Abel Ferrara.
I love Abel, though.
Stand in the back.
I love Abel.
Right.
Yeah, I don't direct enough. I mean, so every time I do it, I'm like scared to death. I just directed an episode of Portlandia, and it couldn't have been like the most welcoming set. And I love Fred and Carrie, but I was still so scared. And I just wish that I could do it more. But I think the reason that I want to do it is because I secretly want to play every part.
I see. So no danger of you transitioning into it full time.
I would love to. I would like to direct more and come back and do your show in another 10 years so Gilbert could, not have seen the movies I directed too.
I can virtually guarantee that.
I have no interest in your career
I'm
whatsoever.
going to do the Danny Thomas story. Now you got me. You sucked me into this.
Yes, that's what Danny Kaye and Lawrence
Oh, my
Olivier would suck each other into this.
Well, I would like to know.
For the record, I don't
Hey,
care.
Gilbert doesn't care.
I'd like to know a lot, but
You'd
we're,
like to
we're
know.
never going to get to it. But
It's okay.
let me ask you if you're still doing your AOL show, which is a lot of fun.
I'm doing
Park
Park Bench, where I interview people on a park bench. We were going to have Gilbert Gottfried.
I would advise against it. Rethink it, Steve.
No, I'm going to have Gilbert on. And so we do it in parks around the city, but we also have our own bench, and we bring the bench into various, to Julian Schnabel's house, or we brought it into the Rubin Museum, and I interviewed a Buddhist nun, and lots of laughs in that one. Check it
I
out.
didn't see that one, but I saw the Dick Cavett episode.
The Dick Cavett episode
With
was where
Debbie Harry.
With Debbie Harry, where
Yeah.
I was basically trying to learn from Dick Cavett, because he is the best. His show was incredible. What a show he!
Oh, well,
yeah,
yeah.
we had
Yeah.
him on.
He was our first guest.
Him, I was interested
You
in.
You were actually intimidated to talk to Dick
I
Cavett.
was.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Anybody that I meet that I knew as a kid, that I watched as a kid, I get really nervous around. I can't.
That's
help it.
refreshing. That even
Yeah.
at this stage, after 100 films, that you're not jaded by the.
Yeah, no, it's I get nervous around people. I get nervous around Gilbert. But for other reasons.
Before we run off,
Yeah.
I just came for the lunch. I was promised lunch.
It's a
after.
good lunch.
Sorry.
We should say we're at the Friars Club, too.
You don't remember anyone you've ever worked with.
I don't.
basically. And I have no idea what you do for a living. So, and I just want to talk about Paul Winchell.
Well, here's something you both have in common.
What? Please.
You could relate to.
What?
You both do a fair amount
we
of
were both
cartoon
in-
voiceover work.
We do. Yes.
Yeah. And you were in Monsters University and
Monsters, Inc.
Monsters Inc. and Monster House, written by Dan
Monster
Harmon,
House.
who's one of our guests, and many other things.
Yes. This is.
on a card.
This is.
Wait, G-Force, Igor,
G-Force.
Charlotte's Web, which I saw.
You did.
Yes, with John Cleese.
That was intimidating to do,
was
like, you know.
Keith Carradine in that by any chance?
I kept wanting to do like a Paul Lynde voice for Charlotte's Web, but they didn't want that.
Oh, really? Now, there's a throwback.
Well, well, he played the original.
of course. Of course.
What was the character's name?
Was he the
Templeton.
Templeton
the
the Rat.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now I can tell my Paul Lynde story again.
Have at it.
Oh, please.
Steve will appreciate it.
Paul Lynde was once being brought into some dinner theater production of something, and he went in. It looked like a barn, and he Paul Lynde, disgusted, goes, "This place smells like a cunt. I think."
Oh, my God. That's good.
Story that keeps on giving.
I know about Paul Lynde.
Yeah.
Anything you want to know about Paul Lynde, I can tell you on the other hand.
Well, this has been the Comedy Central roast of Steve Buscemi.
I'm going to go over to Gilbert's house now and get some of those socks. I think you owe me at least that.
Tell us what's coming up. I know you're making another Sandler picture.
We did, yes. I did Adam Sandler's movie, The Ridiculous Six. I did another movie called... Well, you know what's out now? I don't know when this is going to air, but I did...
The Cobbler's out now,
Cobbler.
yeah.
Tom McCarthy, brilliant filmmaker. He did Win-Win.
Box of
and
Moonlight?
The Station Agent.
Did he direct that?
No, that was Tom.
That was Tom
That was
DiCillo.
Tom.
I'm sorry.
That was with
Getting
the
them
midget
confused.
in it.
That was
Station.
Yeah, Station Agent.
Station
Good
Agent.
film.
Yeah.
Yes. And
That was the midget movie.
So the
God.
The
Don't get him on
Cobbler,
that.
The Cobbler.
Yes.
Adam Sandler's in it, yeah. And then I just did a movie with this Israeli director, Joseph Cedar, called Oppenheimer Strategies with Richard Gere. And I play a rabbi in that one.
So you're working constantly.
Yes.
And more episodes of...
I'm just making loads of shit Gilbert has no interest in seeing. I actually, this is how I choose my parts. I go, I don't know, I think Gilbert might like this one. Maybe I shouldn't do it. What would Gilbert hate? What would he, just look at the ad and go, I'm never going to see that? Why? Who would want to see this? Who the fuck are the Coen brothers anyway? I'm not going to see this. That's how I've chosen my roles over the years. It was from that cab ride from long ago. It just made such an impression.
The cab ride should have warned you. It should have given you an indication of what today would be like. you hoped for different. You were disappointed. And more episodes of Park Bench.
More episodes of Park Bench that we're going to do in April. And
I should say it's a very funny premise. It's you and your brother. And your brother is doing a competing show.
My brother has a competing show called
Yes.
Bench Talk.
Yes.
And,
it's very funny.
Yeah.
No surprise, I've never seen this.
Yes,
Yeah.
well. It's going to be great. I can't wait to have you on the bench, Gilbert.
That's what Danny Kaye said to Lawrence Olivier.
Google it when you get home, Steve.
I know it already.
know it already.
Yes.
Danny Thomas said, I can't wait to get under the bench.
There's a great clip of Malcolm McDowell actually telling the story of Danny Kaye and Olivier at the London airport.
See,
So apparently it really happened.
Although, when Malcolm McDowell tells it,
Yeah.
he says that Laurence Olivier stuck his finger in Danny Kaye's ass. I had heard
You heard it the other way.
Danny Kaye stuck his finger in Olivier's ass. If you had a guess.
It's like Rashomon. Everyone has a version.
But Malcolm McDowell said he witnessed this
What? Yeah.
He didn't say witnessed
in
it.
an airport. What?
It's supposedly in a
I would like to think that both Danny Kaye and Laurence Olivier had their fingers in each other's assholes the same amount of time because it was an equal relationship.
Yeah.
There's something sweet about that.
Yeah.
That they cared enough about each other to shove their fingers in each other's assholes exactly the right amount of time. And I want
What
you
more
to
can
know,
you ask for from a relationship?
And I want to say, I know more about Laurence Olivier and Danny Kaye's fingers in each other's assholes than I know about Steve Buscemi's girl.
Well,
Okay. Well, I guess.
I think he's had enough punishment.
Okay.
so when this is edited together, it'll be like 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Right?
We
This will
were
be your
thinking of it like a
shortest
segue
podcast
episode.
ever.
Like one to
We'll
put between
in funny sound effects.
Yeah.
some Spike Jones.
You always hurt the ones you love. I can tell you more about Spike Jones
And Paul Winchell.
and Paul Winchell and Willie Tyler and Lester
Oh, man.
and Farfel.
Danny O'Day and Farfel?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what was the other guy? Faithful. What was the other guy who worked with puppets?
Sherry Lewis.
No.
Senior Wences?
No,
That was his hand.
No, there was another.
Guy with work with
Name
puppets.
Like Feidel or
Fivish Finkel?
no.
I'm just throwing.
But I can tell. See now, Fivish Finkel.
Fivish
is
Finkel. I
sitting
think he's
here.
in the club right now.
I
think
could
we should
fit-
bring him up here.
Gilbert would like that.
Well, the problem is you're one of the youngest guests we've had, Steve. And if you come back when you're 80, there's a much better chance of him and taking more an active interest.
You're like talking to a fetus on this show. So I guess I should do now what I should have done right after I got the pronunciation of your name, and that's
What?
wrap up the show.
Okay.
I'm out of cards.
Okay. Okay. Hi, I'm Gilbert Gottfried. I know how to pronounce that. And this has been Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast.
Except today. I'm sorry.
Next week, we're having Broderick Crawford on. And I'll have loads to talk to him about.
That's another toll call, buddy.
We'll be talking to Dwight Fry in 2 weeks from now. But today, we've been saddled with actor Steve Buscemi. But we learned the correct pronunciation of his
Yes, I
name.
had a wonderful time here today, and I hope you still come on Park Bench.
I'd like to thank you,
See, I
Steve,
don't know.
and
I'm trying to
apologize at the same time.
No, I apologize. I'm sorry I didn't know enough about Danny Kaye and Laurence Olivier.
Or Paul Winchell.
Yes, yes.
That was great. Thanks for doing it,
Thank
buddy.
you so much, guys.